What is up, guys? It's Alex the Magician here, back for another video, and in this video I'm just going to do a really quick overview of Tower. I'm going to talk about its strengths, its weaknesses, and maybe give you a few tips on how to play your early game and your biome game, and what to look for when you're thinking on turn 1 and 2 whether or not you want to take a restart. So, basically, Tower used to be really bad before the last big patch. It basically used to be bottom tier, about the same level as Inferno. Since the patch, they've added lamps, which makes Tower a lot stronger now. Now, Tower with the lamps is somewhere close to mid-tier, I would say. I personally would put it about the same level as Fortress and perhaps even Rampart, maybe a little bit below Castle and above Stronghold. Certainly better than Inferno and Cove. However, that, the reason that it became so much better is basically lamps, right? And you always have a chance of not getting lamps in your biome, which then makes it bad again. So it goes back to being basically bottom tier if you don't get any lamps or any easy lamps that you can take. So I'll just go right into it and talk about the strengths and the weaknesses. So first, the strengths. As I've already mentioned, lamps, genies, right? The genies, the master genies, are a really amazing offensive tool. Basically, what you do with them is you make 1 stacks to cast spells because they have that spell casting ability. And even with a stack of 100 gremlins, you can take very difficult fights. You can kill a lot of crazy guards by buffing them with genies. So really, if you just have 100 gremlins, an ammo cart, and like 5 genies, master genies, you can do a lot of crazy fights. And, obviously, if you can snowball the genies themselves, if you get like a stack of like 20 genies and, make 1 stacks to buff them, you can do even more difficult fights. And you can start taking conces, you can take pickets, perhaps even hives, although hives would still not be the greatest idea, because the thing about the genies is they are very strong offensively, but defensively they suck. So they're like glass cannons. They don't have a lot of HP, and they're really easy to take out. So, they rely on their spellcasting and hitting hard and hitting fast. So a lot of times it's actually good to have another power stack. So have a few genies to buff your power stack. Like, you snowball a few genies, you go into like hives or pickets or conces to build a power stack of cyclopes or angels, or maybe even giants or something like that. And then you use your 1 stacks of genies to buff that power stack, and that's the stack that does the most fighting and does the most damage in your fights. Alright, so besides the genies, a couple of other strengths that Tower has is, one, they have the Observer Tower building in their town, which is nice. It gives you a lot of extra scouting information around your town. A lot of times when I start with Tower, I will actually build an observer tower if I can't really scout anything that, if I don't scout anything with my heroes that looks worthwhile and I'm thinking about taking a restart, I'll hold off. I'm not going to upgrade the gremlins right away, because maybe there's not even going to be any fights for me to take on day 1. So, first I will scout, and then I will actually take a look at the map and see if there's anything worthwhile, like any easy lamps or something else that I want to actually fight with the upgraded gremlins for. And if I don't see that, then I will build a lookout tower so that I can actually get some more scouting, and then determine whether or not I want to take a restart, because I'll get a lot more scouting information around my town. And a lot of times that was actually the play that, basically skewed me into playing a map rather than taking a restart. Like, I did some scouting with my heroes. I didn't really find anything that I wanted to, keep the map for. And then I built the observer tower, and then I saw, a lot of lamps or something like that, or some really good artifacts, and I decided to play the map. So Observer Tower is nice. The other thing is the library, which gives you extra spells in the Mage Guild. So you can always go for Mage Guild level 4 or 5, and you have a better chance of getting a good spell. And another strength that Tower has is the fact that giants are actually pretty cheap to build. You only need 10 gems and 5k gold to build giants, to build the Cloud Temple. So a lot of times, if you have a couple of cloud temples, the giant dwellings on your map, if you take those, you can pretty easily build giants on week one, and with two cloud temples externally and building giants in your town, that means you will have 8 giants on 121. And that's actually something that you can even do even without genies. So gremlins, as long as the guard to the Cloud Temple itself is not too bad, you can actually take a Cloud Temple with only gremlins and guarding them with golems and having some gargoyle 1 stacks. Okay, so that's it for the advantages. Now, as far as the disadvantages go, the most obvious disadvantage is the snow, right? So you got the movement penalty, and the snow gives you 150% movement penalty, right? So basically, you are going to be much slower when you're taking things like conces and pickets and hives. So, for example, like having something like this on this map, like this const is far away, to be able to take that, you need to understand that bringing back the angel is going to take you probably like 2 turns around the snow, depending on the way you want to go. So you really don't want to run around the snow with wyvern or angels or cyclopes if you can help it. And maybe have a hero with pathfinding. So again, genies are going to be your highest tempo and best bet for the biome game. And again, if you don't have them, then you're kind of screwed. So your options are much more limited if you're not going to find lamps. So essentially, when you're thinking about restarting the map or not, most of the time you're looking for lamps. Like, I've restarted maps when I saw a few hives or conces or something like that that were close to the road, but I just did not have any lamps because I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to start taking the hives and the conces? So you really want to look for lamps. Like turn 1, turn 2, like for example, this road, something like this lamp guarded by 2049 boars, that is easy. That is something you can do on day 1, no problem, if you upgrade your gremlins. So something like that is what you're looking for, right? But in other cases, you may have some difficult guards for the lamps, like here, for example, 5/9 Cyclop Kings. That is a lot more difficult. You don't want to take that fight on day 1, right? So this is something you want to do much later, right? So something like this you can also do, although this is 5099 white, so maybe you do this later once you actually have some genies and you can buff. So you see, you can start snowballing. Once you get a few genies, you can do a fight like this. Like this fight I would not take on day 1, but maybe after I get some genies and I can buff my gremlins with the genie 1 stacks and then use Solmir's Chain Lightning, then I can take that fight on maybe day 2 or 3 or something like that. So, and that's essentially it in a nutshell. A couple more things that I wanted to mention as far as heroes that you start with. You have a few options. You can start with Solmir. That is actually what I prefer doing because Solmir has Chain Lightning, and that means that he can do certain fights, especially early game, that you can't necessarily do with other heroes without losing a lot, like a lot of your gremlins. So for example, if you find a lamp guarded by something like 2049 archers or like orcs or something like that, some kind of a ranged guard. Solmir can do like this, for example, 2049 marksman right here, guarding a lamp here. This is something that Solmir can do without even losing that much. I'll actually even demonstrate this. So let's say we grab all of our gremlins. And this is just our day 1 army, basically. And in this case, we don't need to cover our gremlins because we're just going to be attacking the archers like this. Let me end my turn. Because the timer is about to run out. So you see right away, we're just doing Chain Lightning, and we took out a lot, so they're going to do much less damage, and then we're just going to get in their face with Gargoyles. And you see, this fight, we only lost 8 gremlins and 2 gargoyles, so much easier, and you saw that auto combat lost a lot more gremlins, and you do want to conserve your gremlin stack. So this is actually why I prefer to start with Solmir, but other viable options are also Thane or I believe Iona, the genie girl that gets the genie specialty, because again, genies are going to be your main strength, and getting the additional movement and attack and defense on the genies is beneficial. And some people have also said that you can start with Josephine with the Golem specialty. And I've never tried it myself, but supposedly you can do hives when you have golems, right? So if you have a decent enough number of golems and you upgrade them, and with Josephine's specialty, you can start doing hives with that. So never tried that strategy myself, and I would still think that it would be a bit slower, because when you're doing hives, as I've mentioned, you're going to be running around the snow with Wyvern, which is going to mean that you're going to have less movement, right? So I usually start with Solmir myself, so I can do fights like this if I need to on day one. And again, going for lamps, and more lamps. And then once you get a decent stack of genies, then you can start going for pickets, you can start going for conces, even hives and experimental shops, so whatever else you want. So in a nutshell, that is the tower strategy, going for lamps. And once you get a decent number of genies, you go for other objects that, you know, to build another power stack that the genies can buff. Or if you get a lot of lamps, then just build your power stack of genies. The only thing is, you're also going to need to be careful, right? So like I mentioned, the genies are a glass cannon essentially, and that means that a break like Archdevils, you're not going to be able to deal with very easily. So if you get a bad break like Archdevils or Black Dragons or something like that, your genies are going to die to that. It's not going to be easy to do something like that. So, you know, if you're dealing, like I've had a break of Archdevils and I had a genie power stack, and I actually ended up doing a side break, which was Hydras, and that is much more doable, right? So yeah, that is another thing you want to watch out for. The break is certainly going to be, it's going to affect tower. The thing is, ranged breaks like Cyclopes or Cyclope Kings or even Enchanters are not as bad, because genies are going to be really fast. And let's say you have mass haste or tactics, or you can buff yourself to actually give yourself haste or something like that. You will be able to get in their face with the genies, and they're not going to do that much damage to you. So actually, ranged breaks are doable. But what is not doable are things that are really, really fast and that deal a lot of damage. And, you know, so things like Archdevils, Phoenixes, dragons of any sort, those are going to be a lot more difficult. So I believe that is everything that I wanted to mention in this video. I hope you guys found this informative. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Later on, I will do an entire demonstration of like the week 1 biome game with Tower, as I did with Dungeon and Necro and Conflux. And as always, if you guys want to see more Heroes 3 content, check out my Twitch stream, and feel free to follow me there. If you do, you'll get notified when I go live. And feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel as well, as I do release new guides just about every week. So if you subscribe, you'll get notified when I release more videos. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. Have an awesome day, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace out.